Dr. Aklog, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Your story is simply fascinating. You fled political violence in Ethiopia as a young teenager. You ended up a Harvard-educated and trained heart surgeon, and now you're a medtech entrepreneur and CEO. Now, that journey must give you so many insights into the topics we're discussing today. Could you share some of those?
Sure. I'm happy to talk about my journey, even though I'm sort of a humble guy, but it does provide, I think, some significant insights into many of the topics for today, in that I've had a multi-hued, some might say winding road to where I am today, and it's provided me with perspectives from multiple angles as to where we are with healthcare. As you mentioned, I spent the first half of my career as a heart surgeon, practicing in Boston at Brigham Women's Hospital and elsewhere, but I always had this passion or drive for innovation, for figuring out ways to address unmet needs and to improve what we do. It was a bit of a tick of mine, I guess you might say, and that evolved into coming up with certain inventions and developing a path towards becoming an entrepreneur, where I joined up with a couple of partners, and we created some early startup companies while we were still practicing heart surgery, which I think back was a bit crazy. But we had some success, and we developed a variety of technologies. We developed a device to suck out blood clots that actually put heart surgeons out of business, which is
Wow.
sort of
Fascinating.
there's a history of that actually. And that device was called AngioVac. And it was really after that that I saw, there's a lot of satisfaction, obviously, in heart surgery is very dramatic and saving lives and so forth. But I also saw the opportunity to use technology to develop technologies separate from the actual practice of medicine, and transitioned into full-time entrepreneurship and starting my own companies.
Talk to us about how your work and that of your colleagues is really helping mold and shape the future healthcare ecosystem. What are some of the standouts?
Yeah, I mean, what we've taken a path. We founded a company 7 years ago called AdvaMed, and it's a bit of a contrarian path. Instead of focusing on individual areas like heart or orthopedics or so forth, we decided to take a very agnostic approach to look at any innovation and be in the position to develop medical technologies. And medical technology is something. We're a little bit of the ugly duckling in industry. People hear about blockbuster drugs and vaccines and so forth, and sometimes I feel it's important to help define that. So, medical technologies are not simply devices, tools that doctors use to intervene in the heart and elsewhere, but it includes really three major areas: medical devices, diagnostics, which we got a lot of attention for, obviously, during the pandemic, and digital health, which is an upcoming area. So our small company, AdvaMed, has actually committed to being involved in both. So we have products in more traditional medical devices, better ways to do carpal tunnel syndrome. We have a diagnostic company that has called Lucid Diagnostics, that has an exciting early detection process for detecting precancer in patients who have heartburn, and we also have a digital health platform for cancer patients. So, one of the interesting things that I've been fortunate is to get another perspective, and that I was asked to join the board of AdvaMed. So now I actually have, I can see from the policy side as well how what we do as a country and as a community impacts access to innovation in medical technologies.
Well, let's talk about that. Access is one of the issues here that we're discussing, health equity. And I know it's got to be frustrating because we all know that not everyone has access to all these innovative medical technologies that you and your colleagues are creating. So what is your concern about the impact that disparity in access has on patients' health and well-being?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about disparities in health equity. I know that's a theme of this summit, somewhat often in somewhat theoretical terms. I'm actually on the board of Human Rights Watch, so the concept of access to health as a right, whether you believe that or not, or just from a pragmatic point of view, from a policy point of view, is sort of central to my heart. So I think maybe the best way to explain it from a technology point of view is to just give a concrete example. So one of my colleagues on the AdvaMed board, I'll credit him with this. About 10, 15 years ago, there was new technology that allowed you to treat heart valve disease without having to open the chest and do open heart surgery. These are called transcatheter aortic valves. And now we're 15 years into this. It was an absolutely groundbreaking innovative technology. And what the story he likes to tell is that at the beginning, and even to this day, we know that access to this very mature technology that's been around for over a decade is inequitable. And the example he gives, he lives in LA, he says if you were in Cedars-Sinai the day these technologies came out, Cedars-Sinai could basically make it a loss leader and present it as cutting edge technology that they could offer to their sort of upper socioeconomic patients. But you go a couple of miles to MLK Hospital in LA, and to this day, patients, even 15 years later, do not have the same access to that.
Was there anything that the policymakers, the lawmakers, people in this room can do to help change that?
It really comes down to the process being predictable. Now that I'm on the other side and I'm bringing technologies to market and so forth, we need predictability. And one of the areas is in reimbursement. So there is actual work that came out of the spirit of the Cures Act that is now called TSET, and that basically tries to provide a predictable reimbursement path, particularly for innovative technology. So it doesn't become something that only wealthy areas can provide sort of as a loss leader until the market figures it out. So there are definitely policy initiatives that we can work on to improve that in medical technology.
Your work has straddled the worlds of both the clinical medicine and then medical technology innovation. And so I think that puts you in a really unique position. As we wrap up here, drawing on your many worlds that you've had your feet in, what excites you most about the future of healthcare and the role that medical technology will play in it?
We could spend an hour. Do you have an hour? I mean, there's a lot of exciting things that are going on, and I would be remiss if I sort of didn't emphasize that. I think one area that I find extremely exciting and something we're involved in is the intersection between the digital world and technology. Now, we always think of medical devices as being sort of high-tech instruments, but the digitalization of existing tools, but also the application of digital health much more broadly across healthcare is something that's extremely exciting. And just a quick example of that, there's an initiative right now in healthcare delivery that's just getting underground. My alma mater, Brigham and Women's, announced it this week that they're going to try to develop 200 hospital at-home beds. So patients don't actually get admitted in the hospital, they're at home getting treated for things that would previously require hospital care, not sort of just sending them home afterwards, but truly getting their care at home. That requires careful monitoring. We have the ability now with implantable and wearable devices to monitor patients at home at the same level of intensity they could in an ICU, where you're getting continuous measurements of various physiologic parameters that can influence that. To me, that's a really exciting, almost paradigm-shifting way to where technology can impact how we improve healthcare delivery.
Any of your projects that you have in the hopper that you can give us, a little preview on, some insights?
Yeah, I mean, we have a subsidiary we launched last year called Veris Health, which is using digital health to improve cancer care. So patients most patients who require chemotherapy or immunotherapy require an implant of a port for that to be delivered. And we're taking that port and converting a dumb port into a smart port that can actually provide continuous monitoring of parameters that allow the physicians at home through the patient's cell phone and through a cloud-based platform to effectively monitor patients while at home and pick up complications such as sepsis or other things at a much earlier stage to prevent complications. So that's sort of an example of what I was talking about in terms of the impact of digital monitoring and digital technologies in improving care, something we're very actively working on.
And then there's your esophageal cancer preventing device, detecting and preventing.
Super excited about that. I think Dr. Hahn mentioned the concept of prevention. And one of the fastest growing cancers right now is esophageal cancer. It doesn't get a lot of attention. It's the second most lethal cancer. About 80% of people die. And it arises from heartburn, something that we all know about. It's very common. 50 million people have weekly heartburn. They don't know that they're a setup for potentially esophageal cancer. And so there are now biomarkers, again, like he mentioned, that we have a biomarker called EsoGuard, which can detect esophageal precancer. So not detecting cancer, but preventing cancer by detecting the precancer. And once you detect the precancer, you can monitor it, you can treat it before it develops into cancer. And so non-invasive
you can save
techniques
lives.
Absolutely is an opportunity to save lives. And that's the goal of the cancer moonshot of this administration, and we think we can play an important role in that.
Dr. Lishan Aklog, thank you so much. CEO and co-founder of AdvaMed and Lucid Diagnostics.
Great. Thank you.